Section 42 of Journal of the Reverend Francis Asbury, Volume 2. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Brian Keenan. Saturday, 11. At Churchill Church, Brother Lee preached, and I exhorted. We dined at Mr. Cossey's, and rode in the evening to Brother Chair's. Whitsunday, 12. At Centreville, after Brother Lee had preached, I feebly exhorted upon "Grieve not the Holy Spirit of God." We administered the supper of the Lord. I was weary at the end. I lodged at Thomas Wright's. Monday, 13. At Tuckahoe a multitude attended. My services were very small. Tuesday, 14. At Easton a crowd of people attended. Here I could say but very little. We crossed Dover Ferry and rode to William Fraser's in Caroline County, and on Wednesday, 15, held meeting in his dwelling house. Thursday, 16. At Henry Ennels's I could only gloss upon those gracious words, "Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." Friday, 17. I attended Cambridge Quarterly Meeting, which was held in a barn. I commented a little upon "We have not followed cunningly devised fables." Having had but little rest for 2 or 3 nights past, I retired with Bartholomew Ennels, and went on the way to Vienna to visit Somerset. I rejoiced that Dr. Edward White was standing firm in the grace of God, and that the Lord had blessed the souls of his children. Saturday, 18. It rained plentifully until 10 o'clock. We crossed at Vienna. It was very bad ferrying. The wind being against the tide, it raised high swells in the river. I came that evening to Thomas Garretson's. We had a very serious congregation at Quantico Chapel. I had taken cold and was very unfit to speak at all. We came to Salisbury, where we rested on Monday. Brother Lee preached 3 times. Here I got bled. Tuesday, 21. We came to Annamessex. My horse began to sweat, swell, and tremble, and died upon the road. Brother Levin Moore was with me. We put his horse in the sulky, and both of us rode to Samuel Smith's. Wednesday, 22. I borrowed a horse of Samuel Smith, and crossed Pocomoke, and rode to Littleton Long's, where I gave an exhortation to a few people. It was a very extraordinary legacy of a living friend that put $45 into my hands. Had I not bought a coat, I might have had $50 in my pocket. It would have been a wonder for me to have as much money by me. But 100 or more might be needful to purchase another horse. Thursday, 23. We rode to Downing's, where I gave a short exhortation, and on Friday, 24, we came to John Purnall's. He is gone to his long home. Here I gave up my borrowed horse, and the only alternative was to put Brother Hardesty's horse in the sulky, and wedge ourselves with all our baggage together. We rode by Frederick Connor's, and made it nearly 30 miles, through excessive heat, to the Widow Bowen's. Delaware, Sabbath, 26. I preached at the chapel, and rode home with Brother Leicester, living in the north end of Worcester County. This day we enter the state of Delaware. I have had great dejection of mind, and awful calculations of what may be and what may never be. I have now groaned along 300 miles from Baltimore. Monday, 27. After preaching at Johnson's, we rode to the Sound, and lodged at Arthur Williams's, an aged Methodist preacher. I passed the night in great affliction. Tuesday, 28. We came on to Dagsboro just as the stage was about to set off for Milford. I paid the fare, and sent Brother Hardesty along. I called upon William Johnston, a gracious soul. We then came into Milford about 8 o'clock, after riding 43 miles. Here I rested a day. Thursday, 30. I must needs ride 20 miles back to Lewis, principally to see the people. Friday, 31. Returned back to Milford. I had taken cold. I ordained 3 deacons and exhorted a little. Saturday, June 1, was a very cold day. We rode to Dover. The crowds of people were painful to me. I ordained 2 deacons. Was confined in meeting 4 hours, and attempted to preach, but could not. Sabbath Day 2. After meeting, I rode to Duck Creek Crossroads, and called at Dr. Cook's to see Thomas White's children. Dr. Anderson, Dr. Ridgely, and Dr. Needham considered my case. They advised a total suspension from preaching, fearing a consumption or a dropsy in the breast. Monday, 3. I ordained 1 person at the Crossroads, and another at Dickinson's meeting house. I dined with Mr. Moore near the Appoquinimink Bridge, and then rode on to Wilmington. We have made 40 miles this day. What with labor and fevers, my rest is greatly interrupted. Pennsylvania, Thursday, 6. We held our conference in Philadelphia. I retired each night to the Eagle Works, upon Schuylkill, at Henry Foxhall's solitary social retreat. The conference was large, and the business very important. Ezekiel Cooper was confirmed in his appointment by me as our agent in the book concern. New Jersey, Wednesday, 12. After the rising of the conference, I rode to Burlington, and then on Thursday, 13, to Milford, on Friday to Mr. Drake's, near Amboy, and on Saturday to New York. New York, Sabbath Day, 16. I gave a short exhortation in the John Street Church, likewise in the North River House. It is an unseasonable day for religion. It is time the conference should come. May Almighty God bless and own their labors to the people. Wednesday, 19. We opened our conference for New York and all the New England states. The conference was crowded with work. Consequently, I had but little rest, and what added to my pain was Brother Bostic's lying sick in the next room. Heat and haste. Sunday, 23. We had a charitable day at all the houses, and collected nearly $300, but the deficiencies of the preachers were almost $1,000. I attempted to preach a little on Philippians 4:19, and gave an exhortation at the Bowery Church. I met the society at the old church at night. The excessive heat made us wish and haste to leave town. Monday, 24. Was exceedingly warm. We rode to Sherwood's, but did not get there in time to meet our appointment. Tuesday, 25. We came to the Plains. Wednesday, 26. We rode about 30 miles, and came in about 10 o'clock at night to Governor Van Cortlandt's, whose wife is a Shunammite indeed. Thursday, 27. We toiled through the rain over Peekskill Mountains to Richard Jackson's, where we lodged, about 8 miles from Poughkeepsie. In the night I was taken with a violent pain in my knee. We have traveled over rough roads, and through great heat, since we left New York, about 100 miles. Feverish and full of pain as I was, I attended meeting and gave an exhortation. Saturday, 29. I rode through heat 25 miles to Rhinebeck. The pain in my knee subsided. On Sabbath day I preached at the school church upon Grace be with all them that love our Lord Jesus Christ. Brother Lee gave a sermon on the fruits of the Spirit. Monday, July 1. I rested. My health is somewhat better. I must confess I never felt so great a resolution to resign the general superintendency as I do now, and if matters do not work more to my mind, it is highly probable I shall. My prayers and counsel will be turned this way until next General Conference. Tuesday, 2. I visited Mr. Sand's family, and on Wednesday breakfasted with Mrs. Montgomery at her beautiful retreat. Dined at Mrs. Livingston's on the Manor, an aged, respectable mother of many children. The house, the garden, the river view, all might afford much painting for the pen of a Hervey. Brother Garretson and his agreeable wife attended us. Thursday, 4. We rode 20 miles to what is called Hudson City, a mere blank. Friday, 5. Excessively warm. We stopped at Kinderhook and at Miller's time enough to hide from a heavy gust. We then came on to Albany. We have ridden 35 miles this day. I received a healing letter from T.M., but matters will not easily be done away with me. If it were 1 or 2 only that were concerned, it would be but little. But it is hundreds, yea, thousands of traveling and local preachers and official men, and thousands of people also. Saturday, 6. I was awakened at 12 o'clock exceedingly sick, and totally disabled for public service. I was not able to sit up until 6 o'clock in the evening. I rode 2 miles out of the city to Mr. Marks's. Monday, 8. Rode to Cayman's Landing, and then to the Stone Chapel. Here we have the good news of souls converted at prayer meeting. Rode in the rain and damp 6 miles to Brother Blodgett's, upon Hockotuck, in Albany County and Circuit. Here also I found the labors of Anning Owens had been blessed in the awakening of some young women. Our congregation was large. I gave an exhortation and a prayer in much weakness of body. We rode back the same evening a few miles to Father Waldron's. Wednesday, 10. I rose at 5 o'clock, very unwell, but must needs ride in the heat and dust, over hills and rocks, 35 miles, and came to Crawford's and Dillon's about 4 o'clock. Weary as I was, I could not feel satisfied without prayer and exhortation. We have ridden in 3 days upwards of 60 miles, and held a meeting each day. Thursday, 11. We rode 9 miles to Cockburn's in Ulster County. Here I gave a small exhortation to a small congregation. It was a day of small things, but it may not be so always. Friday, 12. I rode 15 miles to Hurley and stopped at Cornelius Cole's. No appointments had been made, but we called a meeting in the evening. I rested on Saturday, 13, at Marbletown. Sabbath day, 14. I was very unwell, and the day was very warm. I made an attempt to preach on Matthew 25, 34 through 46. A marble-hearted congregation as well as Marbletown, and probably will remain so whilst the love of the world predominates. Family prayer, class meetings, and prayer meetings are neglected. Brother Lee preached at Hurley in the evening, and I gave a closing exhortation. Monday, 15. We rode through dust and heat, without refreshment, 25 miles to Digo's. Here the people of the house seemed all soul. We could not leave the place until we had called a meeting. Tuesday, 16. We rode 15 miles to Samuel Fowler's, and dined. We then rode on to meet my appointment at Mr. Ellison's. Wednesday, 17. Jesse Lee gave an awakening discourse from 1 Corinthians 15:58. Thursday, 18. We rode over hills and rocks, through heat and with hunger, 28 miles, without stopping until we came to Liziers, near the Jersey line, Orange County. We have traveled and toiled nearly 400 miles through this state. Weary as I was, I must needs ride 5 miles farther to Nicholas Simonson's, where I was comfortably entertained. New Jersey, Friday, 19. We came on to Sussex Courthouse. Dined and pushed on to Father Freeman's. No appointments. At night I was taken with great distress in my bowels, which held me 2 nights and a day. Saturday, 20. I rode in great pain and heat, hungry and sick, 25 miles, to Mr. McCulloch's. How welcome a good house, kind friends, and a cold day! What is the cause of my affliction? Is it the water, or the weather, or my bilious habit? I am at a loss to know. Sabbath day, 21. At Colonel McCulloch's. Having been so unwell for some days past, it was enough for me to exhort a little after Jesse Lee had given them 2 sermons. I was visited in the evening by John Hanna, an aged social Presbyterian minister. Monday, 22. I rose to ride to James Bryan's, Bucks County, Laycock Township, Pennsylvania. We followed Miscanico Creek to the mouth. We had traced the head branches of it already. It is a most beautiful, useful stream, running through a rich vale into Delaware River, at Hunt's Ferry. The weather is warm and the roads uneven. We had a journey of about 30 miles. We have traveled about 65 miles through Jersey, and about 500 in a month. Pennsylvania, Wednesday, 24. We rose at 3 o'clock in the morning, and began our journey at 5, over ridges and rocks, 28 miles to Pottsgrove. We did not eat until we came to Coventry. 36 miles is the amount of this day's journey. Oh, heat, drought, and dust! Thursday, 25. We had a most dreadful time over the mountains to the Forest Chapel. Here we found the people much engaged in religion. This was a balm for every sore. We dined at Kerbury's and lodged at Abraham Lewis's. Friday, 26. We rode 20 miles to New Holland, and had a sample of bad roads for a sulky. Here some souls have been brought to Christ. I was exceedingly spent for want of sleep and rest. After 5 o'clock, we rode with Elder Ware towards Strasburg. Night came on and left me 2 miles from the place in the woods, in darkling shades, a new cut road, and stumpy path. We came in about 9 o'clock, having ridden 12 miles. Thank the Lord for whole bones. Sabbath day, 28. There was preaching in Thomas Ware's orchard in Strasburg. We had the respectables of the town, and a large assembly. This place contains, I judge, between 60 and 70 dwelling houses. Monday, 29. I visited Jacob Boehm's. God hath begun to bless the children of this family. The parents have followed us nearly the space of 20 years. Tuesday, 30. We had a serious earthquake at 5 o'clock. The earth is growing old. It groans and trembles, which is the necessary consequence of palsied eld. I visited John Miller's. Thence we rode 6 miles to Martin Boehm's. Wednesday, 31. We had a comfortable meeting at Boehm's Church. Here lieth the dust of William Jessup and Michael R. Wilson. I feebly attempted a discourse upon Hebrews 6:12. In the evening we rode to Abraham Cage's, near the mouth of Pagan Creek. Thursday, August 1. After a suspension of rain in some parts, for 2, 4, 6, and 8 weeks, we had a gracious, moderate rain. On Friday, the rain continued quickening, and thus saving the latter fruits of the earth. I rode to Mrs. Elizabeth Wright's. We crossed Canastoga at the mouth of Little Canastoga. We had a very uneven path. Mrs. Wright's family are blessed. All the children profess religion. Father and daughter have died in the Lord. Our friends followed us from Pequot. Martin Boehm is all upon wings and springs, since the Lord hath blessed his grandchildren. His son Henry is greatly led out in public exercises. Saturday, 3. We rode to Columbia, formerly called Wright Ferry. The excessive warmth of the sun in crossing the water made me sick. We stopped at Drinnan's. Here we met Seely Bunn. He had very late notice of our coming on Sabbath day. Seely Bunn preached in Little York, and Jesse Lee in the evening. I gave a short exhortation. 20 miles made our Saturday's ride. Monday, 5. We set off for Maryland. I rode 13 miles, and had my horse fed and shod. We continued on and dined at Littlestown, 25 miles, well spent with heat, hunger, and thirst. We then rode on 10 miles to Taneytown. The inhabitants here and hereabouts are chiefly Germans and Romans. We crossed the Maryland line and lodged at Bentley's. Next morning we rode on to Jeremiah Browning's, 17 miles, before we breakfasted. Maryland. It may suffice to say my mind hath been kept in great peace. But I have been greatly afflicted and dejected with pain and labor. We have visited 6 districts since the sitting of the Baltimore Conference, and in 4 out of 6 there is a happy revival of religion. On the eastern shore, in Jersey, Albany, and Pennsylvania, and we hear a rumor of a revival in the northern district of Virginia. We attempted a meeting at Louis Browning's, at his mill near Woodsbury. In the evening we rode to Liberty, and lodged at Daniel Dorsey's. Oh, heat, heat! We have ridden 12 miles this day. Thursday, 8. We held a meeting in the woods near Liberty. The houses were not large enough for our congregation. I visited Eli Dorsey, and saw the children of my dear nurse, Sarah Dorsey, and the place where her dust is deposited until the resurrection. Oh, once lovely features of body and mind, but above all her triumphant death. Friday, 9. I came 8 miles to Edward Owings's, where I received every mark of affection I could desire. Saturday, 10. We rode to Stephen Shermerdine's. It was well we had a short ride of 4 miles, the weather being so excessively warm. Here we were treated kindly. Sabbath day, 11. We had a meeting at Fredericktown. I exhorted a little at every one of the above places. We rode over the Catoctin Mountain to Samuel Phillips's, to see his dear wife, who was very low. The people came together, and John Potts gave them a sermon. It was but little I could give them. Monday, 12. We rode to Joseph Howard's, upon Carroll's Manor, where we had a comfortable meeting. Virginia, Tuesday, 13. We crossed the Potomac at Nolan's Ferry. The river was so low that those on horseback forded it. I came over with the carriage in the flat. I think of nothing less than the resignation of my office of superintendent at the General Conference. Wednesday, 14. We had a full meeting at Leesburg. Many of the brethren and sisters from societies in the country attended. It was the time of court. A company of soldiers collecting attended in good order. Thursday, 15. We rode 28 miles to Charlestown. We had a very rocky, uneven road. We stopped at Keys Ferry and were kindly entertained. Friday at 11 o'clock, we held a meeting in Charlestown and then rode on 18 miles to Millborough. Saturday, 17. We had a comfortable rain, after which we rode on 4 miles to Winchester. Sabbath day we held meeting, and were about 5 hours in love feast, preaching, sacrament, and exhortation. I rode home with John B. Tilden, 7 miles from town. Monday, 19. We rode to Stevensburg. Here we held meeting. Tuesday and Wednesday, 2021, it rained. We could not be more welcome at any place, or more richly accommodated, than we were at Elijah Phelps's. Thursday, 22. We rode 15 miles to Lewistown, where we dined, and then rode on to Pinnell's. Oh, the rocks, ridges, and gutters we had to cross at Chester's Gap! I would prefer riding 200 miles upon the lowlands than 70 to Henry Fry's, in Madison. Friday, 23. We rode 20 miles and dined. We passed Culpeper Courthouse, and came within 4 miles of Henry Fry's, and stopped at a tavern, after riding in great heat and haste. I was sick. From hard labor, want of rest, and want of coffee, my stomach and bowels were greatly agitated. I need much faith and good water. Saturday, 24. We landed at the mansion, upon the banks of Robertson. Henry Fry may console himself with the last words of David, 2 Samuel 23, 1-7. I obtained an extract from Whitby on the episcopacy of the early ages of the Christian Church. Sunday, 25. We preached at the Springs to about 100 attentive people. I took a bad cold and was very unwell. Monday, 26. We rode between 30 and 40 miles to John Lasley's. End of section 42. Recording by Brian Keenan.